On February 4th, Donald Trump signed an executive order to restore maximum pressure on Iran. The goal is to deprive Tehran of the ability to create nuclear weapons and also to prevent the spread of its influence abroad, according to a statement on the White House website. The US president believes that it is necessary to immediately begin work on a peaceful nuclear agreement with Iran. He did not disclose details of a possible agreement.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
To stop Iran's nuclear program, Donald Trump is ready to consider different options, writes the Wall Street Journal. One of them is a preemptive strike by Israeli and US aircraft against Iranian nuclear facilities. But Trump wrote in a Truth Social that reports that the United States and Israel are ready to blow Iran to splinters are greatly exaggerated. I would prefer a peaceful nuclear agreement that will bring Iran development and prosperity, said the White House chief of staff.
Iran
is in an unenviable position now, with serious energy and economic problems, sanctions pressure, loss of influence in Syria, and the defeat of Hezbollah and Hamas in the conflict with Israel. The weakening of these proxy formations was a significant blow to the infrastructure of the Houthis back in the Biden administration. If Iran risks declaring its completion of getting a nuclear bomb, I think the U.S. will take an unequivocally sharp response with Israel and strike Iran's nuclear facilities.
Previously, Tehran stated that any negotiations are possible if only sanctions are lifted and Iran's interests are respected. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, called Donald Trump's policy of maximum pressure a failed experiment and warned that an attempt to repeat it would end in another failure. He once again assured that Iran is not seeking to develop nuclear weapons.
But if the main concern is ensuring that Iran does not seek nuclear weapons, this can be achieved. It is not a problem. Abbas Araghchi, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran on CNN.
During his first term as a president, Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of the nuclear agreement with Iran. The signatories of this document are also United Kingdom, France, Germany, the European Union, Russia, and China. The agreement involved the easing of sanctions against Tehran in exchange for restrictions on Iran's nuclear program. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Kristina Dombrovskaya, UATV News.
A group of 30-40 people advances, then spreads out into a line or forms a column. Frankly, for our machine guns, mortars and drone operators, this is an ideal target. They end up staying out in the open field, making this tactic completely ineffective. It leads to devastating losses.
A Ukrainian armed forces serviceman involved in operations in the Kursk region, Kirill Sazonov, reports on the use of North Korean soldiers by the Russian military. Even Russian sources acknowledge the significant losses among these troops. The UK Ministry of Defense has described North Korean casualties in the Kursk region as significant. US and South Korean officials estimate the number of killed and wounded to be in the hundreds.
A couple hundred North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces against Ukraine have been killed or wounded during battle in the Kursk border region. The North Korean forces don't appear to be battle-hardened, which contributes to the number of casualties they've had. Senior US military official in an anonymous comment to the Associated Press.
According to Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, Russian commanders treat North Korean soldiers with the same disregard as their own troops, using them in so-called mid-assaults while attempting to conceal the scale of losses. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky revealed that Russian forces have been burning the faces of deceased North Korean soldiers to hinder identification. He also stated that more than 12,000 North Korean soldiers have been deployed to Russia, with Pyongyang also supplying equipment and weaponry.
More than 100 units of various military equipment have been transferred, including 170mm M1989 self-propelled artillery systems and 240mm M1991 multiple rocket launch systems. Recently, over 60 units of 170mm M1989 Koksan self-propelled artillery systems have been moved from North Korea to Russia, from the response of the Defense Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine to the request of Interfax Ukraine agency.
As of early December, Russia has used around 60 North Korean ballistic KN-23 missiles against Ukraine. Only 30% of the artillery shells used by Russian forces were domestically produced, Bloomberg reported at the end of October 2024, while 60% came from North Korea and 10% from Iran.
We assess North Korea has now sent Russia more than 20,000 shipping containers of munitions to date, containing at least 6 million heavy artillery rounds along with well over 100 ballistic missiles. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, U.S. representative to the United Nations at a UN Security Council briefing.
Military technical cooperation between Russia and Iran destabilized not only Ukraine, but also the Middle East. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry declared after an escalation in the Syrian conflict.
Russia, China, but also North Korea and Iran are hard at work to try to weaken North America and Europe, to chip away at our freedom. They want to reshape the global order. No, we are not at war, but we are certainly not at peace either. Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, on social network X.
The Moscow-Tehran-Pyongyang-Beijing alliance has been dubbed the axis of evil by leading global media, drawing comparisons to the German-Italian-Japanese axis of World War II. Observers warn that the international community faces a pressing question: can it effectively counter the cooperation of authoritarian regimes, which frequently violate multiple UN resolutions? Richard Fontaine, CEO of the Center for a New American Security, offers a glimmer of optimism. He points to NATO's strengthening and expansion, as well as Japan's doubling its defense budget. However, he insists that the North Atlantic Alliance must accelerate its efforts to meet these growing threats. Reported by Bastun Katerina Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.
Ukraine has received the first French Mirage 2000 fighters from its allies, and they will soon begin to perform combat missions, Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said. He called the provision of the Mirage 2000 a strategically important contribution to Ukraine's security. Also, President Volodymyr Zelensky said that with the latest delivery, Ukraine continues to increase its fleet of F-16 fighters, and the Netherlands continues to fulfill its obligations to support these efforts. US President Donald Trump is ready to double sanctions against Russia to force it to stop the war against Ukraine, said US Special Representative for Ukraine and Russia Kate Kellogg. Kellogg rated the current implementation of sanctions against Russia at only 3 out of 10. According to him, economic pressure on Moscow can be significantly increased, in particular on the Russian energy sector. Kellogg confirmed that Trump's main priority is, first of all, the cessation of active hostilities. Ukrainian forces have launched a new series of battalion-sized mechanized assaults in the Kursk region and on February 6 advanced to within 5 kilometers of Russian positions southeast of Sudzha Kursk region, according to the Institute for the Study of War. It notes that some Russian bloggers have expressed concern that further advances by Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region could threaten the rear areas of the Russian group attacking Guevo and complicate Russia's ability to cut off Ukrainian ground lines of communication within the Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region.